Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're breaking down an amazing, hilarious and surprisingly emotional conversation between The Weeknd and Jimmy Fallon. From career milestones to crazy behind-the-scenes stories, this episode had everything. So sit back, relax, this is a full 20-minute deep dive into one of The Weeknd's most entertaining interviews ever. The video kicks off with a huge welcome for The Weeknd, the audience is screaming, the applause is non-stop, and even Abel jokes about how shocked he is by the love. Jimmy asks him about an earlier surprise visit they did for college students that same afternoon. The Weeknd admits he didn't expect such a wild reaction. He literally wondered, what if they hate us? Jimmy laughs and says he knew it would work the moment the crowd screamed when he walked out first. Then comes one of the funniest topics, Tom Cruise performing "Can't Feel My Face" in lip-sync battle. The Weeknd reveals that this wasn't just entertainment, it actually helped push the song to the top of the charts. Yes, Tom Cruise helped The Weeknd break records without them ever meeting in person. Abel starts fanboying over Cruise, Color of Money, Vanilla Sky, Rain Man, Eyes Wide Shut, it's non-stop. He even jokes about promoting the new Mission Impossible movie for free, just to repay Cruise's unexpected support. Jimmy starts listing The Weeknd's insane accomplishments. 27 songs with over 1 billion streams. More than any artist in history. Multiple Grammy wins. An Oscar nomination. And of course, Blinding Lights, the most streamed song ever. The Weeknd reacts awkwardly but humbly, praising Questlove for being one of the earliest supporters of his music. We learn that before fame, Abel worked at American Apparel folding shirts. His co-workers would play his music at work, not knowing it was him. That became the moment he said, "Okay, I'm quitting my job. This is it. Music is my life now." He also shares that as a kid, he used to get in trouble for singing all the time. A friend once told him he should audition for Canadian Idol, which became the push he needed to chase music seriously. The conversation shifts to the new album Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is almost 85 minutes long. Abel explains it's the final chapter of a 3-album saga. After Hours. Dawn FM. Hurry Up Tomorrow. He wanted this last album to feel epic, cinematic, and complete, similar to a trilogy by George Lucas or Peter Jackson. Surprisingly, the movie actually came first. The Weeknd explains how he lost his voice during a major show at SoFi Stadium in front of 80,000 people. At first he thought it was a physical problem, but later realized it was psychological. That traumatic experience inspired him to create a film where fans could see what he went through. The film is dark, symbolic, psychological, inspired by David Lynch and Carl Jung. It's about a performer who injures himself, spirals mentally, and meets a mysterious stranger who forces him to face his inner self. Jimmy shows a dramatic clip from the movie, yelling, chaos, intensity. The crowd goes wild. The Weeknd explains that although the film is amplified for drama, the emotional core, the injury and psychological struggle, is deeply real. Jimmy reflects on how naturally calm The Weeknd was backstage during their college surprise. Abel jokes that he felt more confident after seeing the crowd cheer for Jimmy. Jimmy ends the segment honoring Abel's talent, his humility, and the incredible effort he puts into everything he does, from music to film. He closes by reminding everyone. The Weeknd's new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, is out now. The movie, Hurry Up Tomorrow, hits theaters Friday. The crowd gives Abel a standing ovation as the video wraps. In this interview on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, The Weeknd reflects on his journey from working at American Apparel to achieving global superstardom. Despite his massive success, including 27 songs with over 1 billion streams, 4 Grammys, an Oscar nomination, and Blinding Lights becoming one of Spotify's most streamed tracks, he remains grounded. Jimmy Fallon surprises him by reading off his achievements, and The Weeknd credits early supporters like Questlove for helping launch his career. They also dive into a hilarious yet pivotal moment, Tom Cruise's lip-sync battle performance of "Can't Feel My Face," which unexpectedly played a big role in propelling the song to the top of the charts. The Weeknd admits he's a huge Cruise fan, but they've never met. He even teases promoting Mission Impossible in return. On a more serious note, The Weeknd talks about his new project, Hurry Up Tomorrow, both an album and a film. The movie, inspired by a psychological breakdown he experienced on stage, explores themes of loss, recovery, and self-confrontation, blending cinematic visuals with raw personal narrative. The Weeknd enters to massive applause. Jimmy compliments the energy in the room, and The Weeknd thanks the audience, joking about how overwhelming the cheers are. They mention a surprise college visit they did earlier that day. The Weeknd admits he didn't expect the students to react so wildly, and even wondered if they might dislike them. But once Jimmy walked out and the crowd screamed, he knew it would go well. Jimmy brings up a famous 2015 lip-sync battle performance where Tom Cruise performed, "Can't Feel My Face." The Weeknd says he didn't expect it, but that moment helped his song climb to record-breaking heights. He jokes that Tom Cruise, the biggest movie star in the world, unintentionally boosted his career. The Weeknd admits he has never met Tom Cruise but is a huge fan of movies like Color of Money, Rain Man, Magnolia, Eyes Wide Shut, Top Gun, and Mission Impossible. He decides to repay Tom by reading a dramatic promotional announcement for the new Mission Impossible movie, even though he's not involved with it at all. The moment becomes hilarious. Jimmy highlights The Weeknd's incredible accomplishments. 27 songs with over 1 billion streams, more than any artist ever. 4 Grammy Awards. 1 Academy Award nomination. Blinding Lights is the most streamed song in Spotify history with nearly 5 billion streams. The Weeknd is humble and slightly awkward hearing such big numbers. He gives credit to Questlove, who supported him early when House of Balloons released. Before fame, The Weeknd worked at American Apparel, folding clothes at age 19. His co-workers played his songs at the store, not realizing it was his music. That moment pushed him to quit and pursue music full-time. He also used to get in trouble in school for singing too much. A friend once encouraged him to audition for Canadian Idol, which boosted his confidence to chase music. They discuss his new album Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is nearly 85 minutes long. The Weeknd explains it's the final installment of a 3-part musical saga. After Hours. Hurry Up Tomorrow. He says he wanted this last chapter to feel cinematic, epic, and complete, inspired by creators like George Lucas and Peter Jackson, who make big trilogies. The Weeknd reveals that the film for Hurry Up Tomorrow was actually made before the album was finished. The movie is inspired by a real event. He once lost his voice on stage in front of 80,000 people at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. He first thought it was a physical injury but later learned it was psychological, caused by pressure and stress. Instead of dealing with the trauma privately, he wanted to show the emotional journey to fans visually. The film is dark, symbolic, psychological, and inspired by David Lynch and Carl Jung. Jimmy plays an intense clip from Hurry Up Tomorrow, showing shouting, emotional breakdown, a chaotic confrontation. The crowd cheers. The Weeknd explains that only the core emotional truth is real. The movie amplifies everything dramatically for storytelling purposes. Jimmy recalls being nervous during their college surprise earlier in the day. The Weeknd calmed him down and joked that seeing the students cheer for Jimmy first reassured him too. Jimmy ends by praising The Weeknd for staying humble and genuine despite worldwide fame. He promotes The Weeknd's album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, out now. The film, Hurry Up Tomorrow, in theaters Friday. The audience gives The Weeknd a standing ovation. In the interview, Abel subtly talks about the strange balance between his private life and being one of the world's biggest artists. He hints that despite the fame, he still feels like an outsider in many ways. He says success came faster than I expected, and the pressure of constantly topping his last project affected him more than people realize. He describes the experience as surreal, overwhelming, and sometimes isolating. This is something fans rarely hear him admit, since he usually keeps interviews strictly professional. Musical notes 2. He opens up about his artistic evolution. Jimmy brings up how unique The Weeknd's career path is, from House of Balloons era mystery to Grammy-winning pop superstar. What Abel explains is that every era was intentional. He reinvented himself because he never wanted to create the same album twice. He also mentions he hates being predictable. He always tries to break his own formula. Each album represents a different version of himself. This gives viewers a new understanding of why his sound keeps evolving, from moody R&B to synth-pop to cinematic music. Crying Face 3. The breakdown that inspired Hurry Up Tomorrow. One of the most powerful parts of the interview is when The Weeknd addresses the emotional collapse that inspired his new film. He reveals he had a moment on stage where he felt disconnected from himself, a kind of emotional blackout. He describes it as like I was watching myself from the outside. Losing his sense of identity. Feeling pressure to constantly perform, even when struggling inside. Jimmy's reaction makes it clear this is one of the first times The Weeknd publicly talked about this moment. Movie Camera 4. Why the film is so symbolic. The Weeknd explains that Hurry Up Tomorrow isn't just a movie, it's a reflection of his inner world. He wanted fans to enter his mind, filled with surreal symbolism, emotional conflict, artistic visuals, fragmented memories. The interview shows a side of The Weeknd that fans rarely get to see, relaxed, humble, and genuinely reflective. Jimmy Fallon starts by highlighting how unbelievable Abel's journey has been, especially considering he never wanted fame in the beginning. The Weeknd laughs about how strange it feels hearing his achievements listed out loud because he still sees himself as the kid who dropped out of school and made music in a small Toronto apartment. One of the key moments is when Jimmy brings up the Tom Cruise lip-sync battle performance. The Weeknd shares that he had no idea it would go viral or boost the song so much. Hearing him talk about this actually shows how unpredictable the music industry can be. Sometimes it's not marketing, it's a random viral moment that elevates a song to legendary status. They also talk about The Weeknd's evolution as an artist, how he shifted from dark, mysterious mixtapes to blockbuster pop hits without losing his signature sound. He mentions wanting to challenge himself constantly, which is why he stepped into acting, The Idol, and now wrote and produced his own film Hurry Up Tomorrow. The part that surprises many fans is The Weeknd admitting that the new project came from a place of pain. He had a real breakdown on stage years ago, and the film explores his inner fears, pressure, and the loss of identity that comes with fame. It's artistic, symbolic, and very personal, closer to a psychological diary than a standard music film. He describes the film as a mix of surreal visuals, emotional storytelling, his own subconscious fears, and the pressure of being The Weeknd rather than Abel. This is the most vulnerable he has ever been in a public interview. The interview shows a side of The Weeknd that fans rarely get to see, relaxed, humble, and genuinely reflective. Jimmy Fallon starts by highlighting how unbelievable Abel's journey has been, especially considering he never wanted fame in the beginning. The Weeknd laughs about how strange it feels hearing his achievements listed out loud because he still sees himself as the kid who dropped out of school and made music in a small Toronto apartment. One of the key moments is when Jimmy brings up the Tom Cruise lip-sync battle performance. The Weeknd shares that he had no idea it would go viral or boost the song so much. Hearing him talk about this actually shows how unpredictable the music industry can be. Sometimes it's not marketing, it's a random viral moment that elevates a song to legendary status. They also talk about The Weeknd's evolution as an artist, how he shifted from dark, mysterious mixtapes to blockbuster pop hits without losing his signature sound. He mentions wanting to challenge himself constantly, which is why he stepped into acting, The Idol, and now wrote and produced his own film Hurry Up Tomorrow. The part that surprises many fans is The Weeknd admitting that the new project came from a place of pain. He had a real breakdown on stage years ago, and the film explores his inner fears, pressure, and the loss of identity that comes with fame. It's artistic, symbolic, and very personal, closer to a psychological diary than a standard music film. He describes the film as a mix of surreal visuals, emotional storytelling, his own subconscious fears, and the pressure of being The Weeknd rather than Abel. This is the most vulnerable he has ever been in a public interview. He jokes about his early job at American Apparel and how it seems unreal compared to his life today. These moments remind viewers that Abel is still humble and relatable. Handshake 6. A rare display of humility. What many fans pointed out is how uncomfortable The Weeknd looked when Jimmy listed his achievements. Instead of bragging, he laughed nervously and gave credit to his early collaborators, the music community, and the fans who discovered him online. His humility is one of the standout qualities of the entire conversation. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dive rewrites, summaries, and scripts, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What part of the Weeknd story surprised you the most? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.